If I ever were to lose you, I'd surely lose myself. Here's your look at the NECA The Last of Us Part 2 Joel and Ellie 2-pack. Return to the high-stakes world of the award-winning The Last of Us Part 2 video game with Joel and Ellie's 7-inch scale action figures. With over 30 points of articulation, both have stunning detail faithful to the game and come included with screen-accurate accessories to recreate scenes. Just before we look at Joel and Ellie from The Last of Us Part 2, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA Toys that did make this review possible by sending over this sample that we could have a look at in this video. Grabbing the tape measure, obviously you can see right away that Joel is taller than Ellie, but just by how much? Well, that's what I'm here for. Taking, though, the tape measure right to the very top of Joel's head, the figure stands about 6.5 inches in height, or roughly about 19 centimeters tall. On to then Ellie, who again is going to be slightly smaller. She's just shy of being 6 inches in height. She's actually closer to being about 5 3/4 inch tall, and that works again out to be a figure, in this case, that's 15 centimeters in height. First thing I really want to say about this set is that NECA went pretty crazy when it came to the accessories. Not only are these accessories that you can have displayed with both the figures that come included in the set, but it's great fodder as well. You can use these accessories for other things as well. First of which, let's look at some of the slightly smaller things. The figures come included with a revolver. The revolver itself done here in a dark gunmetal gray plastic with a black handle here. It's nicely painted, and one of which that can be held in either one of their hands. And actually, the figures also come included with a bunch of swappable hands too. We'll get into more of that in a moment. Again, onto the something similar in size, they also come included with a pistol. Just to show you the difference in size, the revolver, for obvious reasons, is going to be slightly smaller than the pistol, but again, colored about the same. The pistol seems slightly a light shader, one shade lighter than the revolver itself. In this case, actually, the pistol is done with a handle done in brown. There is a clip, although you cannot remove it. It's just molded in there. This can, again, fit into either one of their hands. Onto then knives. They come included with two variations of knife. One looks to be a switchblade, as you can see with the blade extended out. And then one seems to be more of a cruder shard of metal that's been fashioned into a knife. You can see some nice roping, taping that they've done to the handle here. Again, very small accessories. If you're not too careful, they'll be gone like that. You'll just lose them. They'll be onto the floor, and if you're not careful, a cat may grab it. Onto then machetes. The figures come included with two variations of machete. I would suppose you would still consider this to be the machete. It's, again, a lot more brutal of a blade. This one does look like it's also been used as well. You can see a little bit of stain on the actual silver plastic. This one is, again, that dark gunmetal gray. Slightly varied handles as well. And if you weren't going to be displaying them with either Joel or Ellie, I can think of a certain camp slasher that would love to use these instead. Put those to the side. The figures also come included with an axe. I really like this axe. In fact, it might be one of my favorite things that come included with this set. The look of the head, alone, the way it sort of has like an indentation, all these little marks and scratches and stuff on the actual head of the axe, really does look like it's been used repeatedly. Then as for the handle itself, I do like the way they've stained it. You've got all the nice wood grain added in there as well. Again, can be used for these two figures, or it could be also used for somebody else. I'm going to put that to the side. The figures also come included. More so, I think, would something be a display, I think, with Ellie. She comes included with the bow. The bow, actually, to its credit, has a real working string. The string is pretty tight, though, so just be careful if you're pulling it too far back, drawing it too far back, that it doesn't actually detach from the top nor to the bottom. Again, some really nice wood stain added to there as well. Colors of beige, colors of brown, and slightly darker brown there on the end of it as well. Now, this, I'm actually going to take the time to put it in her hand. The reasoning why I'm doing this is to draw your attention to one of the hands. So happens to be the hands that are currently in the sockets of her forearms right now. She does have, again, the hand for holding the bow, but she also does have the dedicated fingers to be drawing back the bowstring as well. Again, you can fit this into her hands. Kind of have to get it in between her fingers and her thumb, and she can draw back the bow. Not sure long term if I would decide to display her like this, just because, again, having this string so taut like this all the time, I think it would eventually just start pulling away the glue that they probably applied to the top and the bottom. But I do like the idea that they always include, any company, when you get a bow with a figure, you'd like to think as well they're going to include the corresponding hand to do the job. And luckily, in this case for Ellie, she does come include with the hand for that. Let's go ahead and take that out and put it out of the way. Actually, you know what? While we're also on the topic of bow, seeing as we are on it after all, let's talk a little bit about arrows. She comes included with 2 sets of arrows. And the reasoning why I say 2 sets is because they are slightly colored differently from one another. Blade-wise, or tip-wise, they look very similar. In fact, I would almost even say that they're identical to one another. The only thing that's a little bit different is the actual, would it still be the shaft of the arrow? You can let me know down below in the comment section. These are notably a little bit lighter than the ones darker above. And they all have very similar looking feathers as well. She comes with 4 of those. One thing I do really like while we're also on the topic of now bow, now arrow, let's talk a little bit also about the backpack she comes included with as well. The backpack does have slightly softer straps here on the back, so of course that's going to fit in over her body. But she also has a little hole right there. And one thing I really like about that is that hole is just the right size. Not to fit all 4 of them, mind you, but you could at least take a couple of arrows and slide them into that opening. Quarters get pretty tight, so I don't know if I would necessarily try to push more than, might be able to fit maybe 3. Yeah, see, even 3 gets a little too tight. But at least you could fit 2 of them in there, and likely the way I'm going to be displaying this when I'm putting it on the shelf. Let's go ahead and take these out of the way for right now, because the backpack does also fit over top of her body, at least on the back of her body. Just bring the arms back, slide these up, dressing a small child. Just going to fit the straps over her arms. Do it all the way up. And then just easily, I mean, quite easily, fit it over top of her body. And she's got a little backpack there on the back. Nice detailing, by the way, also on the backpack. I like the coloring of the blue that they use. I guess it would be kind of a grayish-based blue. Got a little bit of brown there on the bottom. And they've even taken the time to color in the zippers. Nice looking backpack. We're going to keep it actually on Ellie for right now as we look at the rest of the accessories. While talking about Ellie, she also comes included with a gripping hand for holding the pistol primarily, because again, you got the little pointer finger. She also has one for slightly smaller hands for, like, for example, holding the blade. So if you want to take, like, the switchblade, try to make use of all of these hands as we have them. Go ahead and just take the switchblade, fit into her hand. I like the way it actually rests against her hand like this. You can have it on an angle. She also has just a regular gripping hand as well. All of these very easily to remove. Just pop the hands from the existing sockets and then just place it as needed. And then on to Joel's, I guess the rest of the accessories, leaning more to the idea of actually displaying with Joel. Comes included with a pump action shotgun with a little softer plastic strap underneath. You can fit this, of course, over his shoulders. One thing I didn't actually show you yet, but I'll do it in a moment. You can take at least one of the guns and fit it over his shoulder. I'd like to think he's probably going to be wielding several different things to protect him and Ellie. So I probably will end up just putting, like, maybe I'll even put the rifle up his shoulder and have him carrying around the shotgun instead. Looking at the rifle, as you can see the little sniper scope on the top there. Again, some really nice wood grain added to the undercarriage, underbelly of the rifle. And it got a little bit of gunmetal gray on the end of it. Very nice looking rifle. Great accessories that you can use not only, again, with these figures, but again, you can use them with anything else that you have in your collection currently. Let's go back to the bow here for 1 second. One thing I would have liked to have been able to do with the bow is actually have it just displayed on the side of her shoulder. Just bring it up like this. There really isn't a great way to do it. One thing you can do is actually just rest it underneath or just next to the strap. The strap actually will do a lot of the work for the backpack to keep the actual bowstring and prevent the bow from falling off. I just want to show you that way, because if you do get this figure and you're thinking to yourself, I can't get the bow to stay properly. If you keep it like here, it's just going to fall off anyways. But if you just tuck it in front, it stays actually fine. The strap of the backpack will keep it in place. Let's go ahead for right now and take the backpack off of Ellie. And whilst we're also doing this as well, maybe we'll have a look at her first. I'm going to put the backpack to the side and get a closer look at here at Ellie. I got to say, like, the head sculpt is really pretty. If you, though, aren't one that follows the exploits of Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us or Last of Us Part 2, and you don't think to yourself, I don't know if I really would want to get these figures for my collection because I have no real attachment to the source material. Think further than that, my friends. Think also what you can also do with these figures as well. Because if you aren't one that plays The Last of Us, you could also just simply pick up Joel and Ellie here for fodder. Or you could also pick them up for figures you can have on display with other figures. What I'm thinking of, certainly when I'm looking at figures like this, while I do like the look of them, and they do bear a good strong likeness and resemblance to Joel and Ellie, they also would be perfect for just hikers that unfortunately just happen to cross paths with Jason Voorhees. Again, making the most use out of figures that get released by NECA. You could also even take these existing figures, and if you have other head sculpts from other figures that NECA have put out before, you can mix and match them. And of course get different, granted they're all going to be wearing the same costumes, but you get the idea. Think outside the box. It's simply just, well, I don't know Last of Us, but you may also like the idea of actually having these guys displayed on the shelf for other reasons as well. Anyways, picking up Ellie and getting a closer look at the head sculpt, I really do think the face is quite pretty here on Ellie. The features are very soft and fine here on her face, but again, very nice looking eyes. You got the eyebrows there as well, very soft on the lips there, and I like the way they've sculpted the hair. I believe they have several different outfits in the game, so there's not to say that down the road that NECA doesn't just simply re-release these figures with different outfits. Maybe just a t-shirt version of Ellie, just do away with the sleeved shirt altogether. The sleeve shirt, by the way, is a softer plastic. It seems as well the shirt that she has underneath is also a softer plastic, so it still certainly will help when it comes to the articulation on the figure. She does have a little tattoo there, certainly on her forearm, and she's got herself the tiny little bracelet. All again, nice little attentions to detail. As for her pants, one thing I did actually want to point out for a second until realizing what it was. I thought there was a little scuff mark here to the plastic until I realized, though, what it was a rip in her jeans. There's a little rip there on the top there as well. Not too big, not too much of an eyesore, but just enough that you notice right away. They put little touches of detail like the little rips in her pants. And then she got a pair of Converse shoes. Slightly scuffed up. They're not going to be clean-looking shoes for the state of where they are in life right now. The shoes themselves have some nice darker kind of brown added in there, some nice washing of brown. You got some peg holes on the undersides of her feet, though neither of these figures actually do have pegged stands, but you can easily just use a stand that NECA has put out before, sold separately. For the articulation here on Ellie, her head rotates all the way around. It looks down, looks up, and then of course you can rock it back and forth as well. Shoulders, I noticed on this one, is a little bit on the tighter side. I can't quite get 90 degrees out of her, but I can get at least 45. The arms do rotate all the way around. As mentioned already, this jacket, the shirt that she wears, is a softer plastic. She has a swivel here in the bicep. The swiveling actually is just underneath the sleeve. It's a nice smart way to conceal the joint. She only has, for the joints, a single hinge in the elbow, but it allows the form at least to rotate back and forth. Hands as well rotate also all the way around. She has an upper torso ball joint. Pretty good, actually, in fact, on the ball joint. The legs do split out. They seem more on ball joints than on ratcheted joints. You can bring the legs forward. Yes, you can. You can also bring the legs back. And a mild swivel at the top of the thigh. Single hinge on the knee, which also allows the lower leg to rotate. And then for Ellie's articulation in her feet, they move up and down this way, and a nice ankle rocker as well. Yeah, I really like the look of Ellie. In fact, I might even just say between the two figures, I think Ellie is the superior looking figure, at least from a head sculpt standpoint. On to then Joel. Hoping not to knock Ellie over in the process. Now, Joel again has a jacket in this case. Underneath it looks to be like a blue denim shirt, a matching pair of blue denim pants. And again, he's got himself like the bomber jacket over top of it. I really like the way they've sculpted the jacket. Granted, it's softer plastic, but still allowed them the opportunity to go in there and add a little bit of wash to it, just to bring out some of the details on the jacket itself. One thing notably about the jacket is when you look at the sleeves here, the shoulders look pretty close in color to the jacket, as well as the lower end of the sleeves. But like right here in the joint, I don't know if it's just missing a little bit of the black paint, but it does look like it's a slightly different color than the top and the bottom of the sleeve. Head sculpt wise, I think they've done a really nice job here on Joel. As you can see, he's got the beard going on there as well. Slightly darker tan, of course, on the skin here on Joel than versus Ellie. He's got a few little grays there added in his hair. It certainly happens to all of us, whether we have the stress in life or not, or just simply old age. He's got a little bit of the grays added in his beard. Really nice head sculpt, though. Really nice head sculpt. And again, I'm sure they probably could re-release both of these guys down the road, both Joel and Ellie, with alternate clothing. Just give them different outfits than what they have right now. He does have a nice painted belt. You can see with a nice matching silver belt buckle. And like the sculpting of the jeans is really nicely done here. It's not too busy of a wrinkle. I would say like you want to have pants specifically pants, or even really just tops too in general, you want to have them looking like they naturally drape. You don't want to put too many wrinkles on there that it just doesn't look realistic. It's just the right amount of wrinkles. Just the right amount of wrinkles here on Joel's legs. And then he does have, of course, his hiking shoes. Once again, peg holes on the undersides of his feet. But I do like the fact that they actually took the time to sculpt treads on the undersoles. I mean, really, for the fact the feet would be flat against the base or onto a shelf, you really would never notice that you would actually have treads on the bottoms. So I like that they sculpted them. For the articulation here on Joel, his head rotates all the way around. Head does look down and looks up. But it also seems as well, maybe the way I'm looking at it, does also look like he might have a double hinge. Maybe it's just a single hinge. It actually looks as if he might have a hinge at the base of his neck, but it might just be the one that he's got for his head. Head either way, though, rotates all the way around. Again, you can have it looking up, Joel's head looking down quite a lot, and you can also rock it back and forth. Single hinge, again, only on the shoulders, but again, like the shoulders only come out. Well, Joel actually benefits from having arms that come out further than 45. In fact, he can actually get a 90-degree angle bend. Arms, again, rotate like Ellie all the way around. Joel does benefit, at least. Unlike Ellie, who only has a single hinge, Joel gets, though, a double hinge on the elbow. Hands rotate all the way around, as well hinging back and forth. Upper torso ball joint. Not restricted at all either because they use the softer plastic for the jacket. Legs do split out. Once again, ball joints for these. Forward and back on the legs. Swivel still the same. Single hinge in this case for the lower leg. Rotate the lower leg. And then again, he has the same articulation essentially as Ellie. You can hinge it back and forth this way and up and down. I do really like this set. One thing I do, again, praise this set for being is it's got a lot of great accessories. More accessory than you'll really ever need to have displayed with either one of these characters. Because, I mean, again, they only have two hands. You have some swappable hands, but still at the end of the day, you only have two hands to work with. So when it comes to maybe displaying them, maybe I might just choose to have Joel and Ellie with a knife and a gun in either one of their hands. And then Ellie, of course, can have the backpack on her back, can also carry around also her bow and arrow. And I really did, again, really nice looking set. I did mention this earlier into the review, and I'll just reiterate it now. Just because you don't play Last of Us, either 1 or 2, I don't think you should pass on this set altogether. Because again, when you're looking at a set like this with essentially just generically dressed characters, these characters can blend in with any other of your character collections right now. And while maybe you don't play The Last of Us, if you're a big fan of, say, Friday the 13th, either one of Joel and Ellie could easily stand in right now for a pair of hikers that unfortunately have to cross paths with Mr. Voorhees. Having only really casually gotten into Last of Us Part 1 and really Part 2, I haven't gotten as in-depth into either one of the games as many of the fans of the franchise have. Yet still, I can appreciate the work that NECA did put into both Joel and Ellie. These turned out to be some really fantastic looking figures. Not only just for the sculpting of the figures alone, Ellie's got some great paint. My favorite, though, of the two figures is Ellie by far. One thing I really like about this set is the abundance of accessories that NECA packaged with them in the first place. I mean, all of the guns, all of the machetes, and even just a bow and arrow for Ellie to be carrying around with her. Great for not only displaying with these figures, but great as well to also be using for other figures that NECA have put out in the past. When it comes to, again, the figures, my favorite of the two is Ellie. I do think they've done a really great job on the sculpting of her face, as well as the paint, as softly applied as it is on the face that they've given her. They've also given her the tattoo there that she's notably having on the forearm. And when it comes to, of course, the outfits, this is the outfit style that we have right now. But with the outfits changing, of course, in the game, you got to believe at some point that they would want to get the most out of their molds. Why not just release these figures again in different outfits instead? I'm sure people are still going to be collecting them. And again, as I mentioned, I'm sure several times already, beating a real dead horse. Pick up this set even if you're not a fan of the game, or even if you haven't really played the game at all, because this is a great set to get of casual clothed figures. Think of how many times we actually get ourselves figures in just regular attires. Because we always are ones, especially for myself at least, when it comes to displaying these figures, I always like to kind of have like a little diorama scene set up. I have a Jason Voorhees, but I don't really have anyone that Jason Voorhees can be chasing around. So for me, at least, while I am liking the look of these from Last of Us 2, I think I'm more likely to be displaying both Joel and Ellie, along with Jason Voorhees. It makes perfect sense. They're casually clothed figures. Want to have them displayed in a place where you wanted or would have loved to have clothed figures, released by NECA Toys. Once again, speaking of NECA, I'd like to thank the folks over at NECA that did provide this sample of The Last of Us Part 2 Joel and Ellie 2-pack. What do you guys think of this set? First of which, did you end up picking this up for yourself? Or second of all, if you aren't a fan of The Last of Us, could you see yourself picking up these figures and using them for something other than a Last of Us display? Let me know down below in the comments section. Also as well, if you enjoyed this video, why not hit it with a like? If you're loving the content you guys are seeing and certainly do want to stick around for more, then make sure if you haven't already done so, that you're hitting the ever crucial subscribe button down below and the ever important bell notification. I know it's a two-step process, but believe you me, you'll benefit in the long run, and you'll be able to see all of my videos showing up in your subscription feed. Speaking as well of showing up, at the very end of this video will also be a playlist of other things I've looked at for NECA toys if you have a little bit of time on your hands. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.